Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're gonna create a peak time techno track from scratch by using just Ableton Live 12 suite. So you just need Ableton stock plugin, no need of third-party plugin. We're just gonna use Ableton samples as well, what you got in the default core library. No need of any other sample pack. And yeah, today we're gonna create each individual track, and next week I will probably make a video more about the arrangement and giving you some tips as well. So you will get this project for free when the track is finished next week. Let's see what we're gonna make today. Here we are in Ableton, is the blank session. We're gonna put the BPM at 135. You just have 1 MIDI track. I have this washout return. We're not gonna need it now, we're gonna need just next week, but with my SFX maker rack, and then just nothing on the master, just a limiter in case we go crazy. Yeah, let's start with the kick. So we're gonna use a 909 kick. Again, we're gonna do a 4-2 floor pattern, so we just need to have like this. Make sure the velocity is at the maximum. Alright, now great things is to layer maybe with a rim shot to add a bit of transient. You can try with a tom, clap, snare, whatever you want. Maybe that rim shot is a bit loud. Now here we are pretty much done. We're gonna process it a lot and we're gonna use the new Ableton World device. Now this is fantastic to process. You have a lot of distortion and kicks react really well to distortion in a really unpredictable way. So I usually like to use in multiband because you can have each band, for example, the mid, which is gonna be like what's gonna give the character of your kick. You can distort it in a certain way. The low you can distort it in a certain way to get more punch. And for example, the high you can distort it in a certain way to have more click or reduce that click. Yeah, so it's really interesting. Now I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of experimentation. I will put things by experimenting. There is no like especially why I will use this particular algorithm for this particular part. It's just what's working well the best. So first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna remove the compressor and the sidechain filter, and we're gonna crank up our drive. Now we're gonna treat with the low. So the band I didn't change them. 202 kilo was fine. And we can, I like the poly, but we're gonna reduce the output level. Now we can process the mid maybe with the poly as well. Okay, and here you have a filter that you can use as well as kind of a bell EQ if you put in peak mode. So for example, if you go over 12 dB and you can just sweep to the frequency you want. And now in the high, which is gonna be our transient. Again, we're gonna use poly. And maybe we're gonna use the high pass filter to really like just filter it and cranking up the resonance a little bit to have a high resonance filter, and then just strip down until you get the nice tone of your click that you like. Maybe the rim shot was a bit too loud. Okay, the next one, we're gonna just experiment. We're gonna put it in serial mode. We can drive up a little bit more. You start to have something very punchy with a nice transient. Again, we're gonna reduce the compressor in this. And again, we're gonna put this one in poly mode. This, but maybe we can. Now we start to get something interesting. Maybe we're gonna remove the output. And then yeah, stage 2. We're gonna change to poly. So this is just was by experimenting. I found out this, there is no secret recipe, but yeah, one thing again, I'm gonna use the filter as a peak EQ. So this we're gonna boost the kick frequency, so which is around 50 Hertz. Okay, let's continue our processing. Distortion is great for kick. One great way is EQ as well, but not in the mixing way, in the sound design way. And actually, in EQ8, you have some presets, especially this kick EQ3, which is pretty great. You're gonna hear. Pretty nice, but here it's very boomy, so maybe we're not gonna gain 9 dB. One thing is our kick is very long, so maybe we're gonna reduce the decay a little bit. We can still adjust later. All right, now we're gonna add a bit of rumble. So I'm gonna use my kick verb rack, and it's just a rack I made to easily create a rumble parallel processing where you have dry kick and you rumble. Again, I will put the link in the description if you wanna grab it. Well, to be honest, the kick is already pretty boomy, but just to add a little bit more. And then finally, I'm just gonna add some reverb. It's just gonna help the kick cut through the mix. It's gonna make it a little bit less dry. We're gonna put a very subtle amount. Short decay. Short dry wet. Maybe reduce the diffuse and yeah, alright, this is done. So we're gonna add some drums. I'm gonna add again a 909 kit. We're gonna dry the pattern. We're gonna do close hi-hat, open hat, and ride. So for the close hi-hat, we're gonna do like kind of a classic 16 pattern. Just I'm not gonna use this one. Maybe we can play with the velocity. Having something like that. We're gonna have one open hat off beat. So you can hear the open hat is not playing. That's because the close hat and the open hat are choking each other. So you just need to go in the input output here and at choke here you put none. And now you have your open hat. So okay, and we need a ride as well. Ride, we're gonna do classic pattern as well with one off beat and one like this. Okay, now we can kind of actually that's not the okay, that's very loud. Now we can quickly mix a little bit. Maybe we can play with the decay with the close hi-hat and the open hat as well. Okay, obviously it's pretty dry, and I'm gonna do two things. First, I'm gonna add some delay to just add a bit of movement and stereo. So I'm just gonna add the peak pump delay. I'm gonna put in one, filter it, maybe reduce the dry wet a little bit to don't be too obvious. Just want this subtle effect. And one thing you can do is slightly shift one out of the side to improve the stereo. And then we're gonna add some reverb. So this is my default reverb. I forgot to tell you, but you can copy the parameter and it's just a preset that works well. We can leave it pretty much how it is. One thing, I'm gonna add an extra reverb on the ride because the ride is usually something which I like to be a bit more spacious. Okay, now one thing is there is this resonance frequency that usually on the 909 that I'm gonna remove. Okay, now again I'm gonna use raw as over processing. I used to like to use drum bass, but lately I've been experimenting with raw, so I like to use it as well as kind of overall processing. So we're gonna go with the multi-band and we're gonna keep the same band. Here we're gonna play with fractal. You're gonna maybe like that. Mid we can play with the tube. And then high we're gonna use the poly Gonna bring back this high. Okay, and overall, we can put it around here for now. Now, I like to use for this type of track, which is driving peak time techno, to have an extra driving effect. So I'm gonna use shaker, and I'm gonna use the percussion core kit, because you have inside shake, egg, and cabasa, and we're gonna use again the 16 pattern with having the velocity of bit stronger. And here we're gonna do a classic crescendo, so you're gonna see the velocity. It's going like this one halfway, and this one halfway, and this way you get a effect. Now, one thing I like to do, you can do that with close hat, open hat. You can set the attack around 30 milliseconds, and it's creating a short aspiration as the beginning of the sound, and that give an extra driving effect. Now, one of the things is now is kind of everything a little bit off the grid, so it's easier to hear if we just have the one off beat. You mute everything like this, and now you can bring back all your. Just this one is not gonna be exactly a little bit off grid. It's gonna be exactly on the grid because it's the first one. But yeah, overall you get. Okay, cool. Now this we can modify it a little bit. We can use a shifter if to kind of pitch it to fit the rest of the drum or your track, or just because if you don't like how it sounds and you wanna change the tone, you can use frequency shifter. I like to use it in frequency mode. It's kind of pitching in an interesting way. You can also use the wide to kind of create stereo. So here maybe we're gonna mute the right. Now again, we can process it with some delay and reverb like with the hat. So except here, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab actually the chain from the hat and reuse it. Hold option and then drag and drop. So you might have some adjustment, especially with the raw device to do. So first reducing the dry wet, but maybe this one just to add a bit of excitement. And now I still feel it's missing a bit of stereo, so I'm gonna add one of my rack. I put it in the description again. It's it's a rack I made, just it's a has effect made with a delay, and it's just gonna put it more on the stereo because you have the open hat, closed hat, right more in the center, and this is on the side, so it's kind of better for the global panning and stereo image. I'm gonna add a bit of sidechain as well. And yeah, let's blend it with the maybe the hats. Okay, good. Now finally we're gonna have some clap and snare. Clap to have every 2 beats like the classic, and then snare if you wanna do a snare roll, especially during the break. We can add that again. We're gonna use the basic Ableton one, which sounds great. I mean, it's the 909. It's work as a charm. Every 2 beat the clap. So that's gonna be your clap, and then obviously if you wanna do a snare roll, we're gonna do it later. We're just gonna put the notes like this first. Maybe Now again, you can process it. I'm gonna reuse exactly the same chain. This is a great way like to, I mean, some people will use as a return and just send. I like to do like this. Just used to, it's no one better than the other. Maybe the, yeah, maybe like this. Yeah. Okay, all right, we have our clap and snare, so all of our drum is pretty much done. Now let's create our bass line. So we're gonna do a kind of a rolling bass line first. So we're gonna use wavetable for that. Usually use a sawtooth. I forgot, we're gonna put in scale mode F sharp minor. So like this, I have my push as well, set it. And you can use obviously a sawtooth. I like to use the vintage sub-3 shape around 40%. You get a nice sawtooth. So the idea is to basically low pass this with a 24 dB low pass filter. Maybe add a bit of resonance. So now you don't hear nothing, but you wanna open this filter very fast with an envelope. So we're gonna use the amp envelope to modulate. And that get this nice, almost like acid sound, maybe a bit more attack. Reduce the sustain, and maybe we can change the slope if you want something very sharp. Now we're just gonna add a bit of reverb. So reverb might be weird on bass, it's just to make it a bit less dry, and plus it's not really our bass like in the low end, it's more like our mid or bass mid reverb. So we can go even crazy, because even later on we're gonna use the low pass filter that I'm gonna put it here. And now we're gonna use raw again to kind of add a bit of bite to it. Let me remove this. We're gonna use it in multi-band. Change the band maybe 300, and this we can leave 2 kilo. And again we're gonna put in, add a bit of body. We can again do the same trick like with the pick and act as the EQ. Alright, let's go into the mid. Let me actually remove that. Here again you can use pick. Trying to find the frequency you like the most to boost. And then get a nice click. Just to add a bit of bite. Now I would like to make it a bit more sharper, modern. I have a rack for that, which is called Modernizer. It's just the vocoder that I set in a way that it sounds, I don't know, just add a bit of bite. I will put it in the description again if you want to grab it. Now we can maybe EQ everything a little, and yeah, maybe something like this. Maybe drum bus to put everything more in the face. I like to use drum bus to kind of use the compressor. Transient negativity to reduce the tail of the reverb. Maybe use the dump a little bit. This is really like to really put it like straight up in your face. Alright, and then some sidechain, I guess. So that we're gonna see it more when we program, and maybe a final EQ to kind of this we're gonna see later with the kick. Maybe I'm gonna put it now, but we're gonna need to adjust with the rest when we have done the processing. Okay, the pattern, we're gonna put F, we're gonna stay off beat. We're gonna again have a rolling bass. But you're gonna see what I'm gonna do. Actually, F sharp. But we're gonna have one off beat. And actually these two, we're gonna put them one semitone down. And that's really kind of geared to make a weird vibe. So let's see with the kick, I'm gonna remove the drum because it's gonna... It's okay, but I feel something is a bit offset. And sometimes I program like melody or not like this, and what can happen when you feel something is offset, start to just change the starting point, and basically it's gonna shift the sequence in a certain way, and then okay, and we have our bass pretty solid starting point. Now, something that's come up often as well is this kind of PsyTrance bass line. I actually made a tutorial how to make like PsyTrance bass line, but for techno. I put the link in the description, and I have a rack that I'm gonna use. And we're gonna do a similar pattern. We're gonna go to F sharp 1. Let me solo here, and again reduce the note. This is to avoid to have very sharp sound. And then again we can play with the velocity. And yeah, maybe just using a low pass filter to kind of yeah, well now let's see with the I like both bass, so I'm gonna keep both for now. Now we have our solid bass. We need kind of a hook, a melody. There is different way. It can be a vocal. It can be. It used to be very trendy to make super synth, so like unison sound. Now it's like pretty much into the stab. You can be vocal. We're gonna use kind of a classic melody. I'm gonna use meld and just. So we're just gonna add a bit of spread. We're gonna need to stack 3 like this. Maybe a bit of dry to add this harmonics, and then I'm just gonna add a bit of delay, maybe like filter like this, and a bit of reverb, maybe a bit longer. And then I like to use the push in the repeat. You can use the arpeggiator if you don't have push, and try to find a good melody. You can see in context of the track how it sounds. And the great thing with Ableton, you can just play a capture here, button here, and you have pretty much your pattern here. And so you need to put everything a little bit more on the grid. All right, so I skipped that part because it's obviously tedious to do the MIDI note and everything, but especially that I spent a bit of time because you see the length is kind of weird, but I just feel it was how it was working the best, and then in the context of the track. that's gonna be our main lead and our main hook melody. Maybe you can add a bit of sidechain as well. Okay, now there is different way you can go if you're at that point. You can try to find a kind of another great lead which can complement. One thing I like to do is I like to kind of recycle the kind of the idea or everything. So I'm just gonna duplicate. I'm gonna keep the same melody. I'm not gonna use melt. I'm gonna use another sense. I'm gonna use, for example, Ableton drift. I like drift because it's pretty straightforward when you do something. And the idea is to get maybe a kind of a detune. So I'm gonna use this. This is kind of a sawtooth if you bring the shape up. I'm gonna drive the filter, get rid of this. Maybe. And we're gonna use the unison. And a bit of drift. Mine, it's missing a bit of bite, so I'm gonna go grab the raw from my bass, the same preset, which was like good to add a bit of bite to your sound. This is something I like to do, like recycling. You can see I'm reusing the same preset for the delay, for the reverb, for raw. Do not hesitate to use the same sound, the same preset inside the same track. And actually one thing I found interesting, so this is gonna be our lead 2, and I feel like it's gonna miss kind of a pad, so I tried to put a pad, but it didn't really work well. So what I came up with, I actually duplicate again the same preset, and I'm just gonna go 2 octave upper. But to have this kind of pad feeling, I kind of play a chord. So I'm just gonna duplicate it by holding opt. And then I'm gonna go 7 semitone upper. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This we're gonna be able to layer it along the track, different part of the track to add variation. That's gonna be great. All right, so then we're gonna have some perks tab, things that's gonna pop here and there just to add a bit more variation along the track. And we're gonna use, actually, we're gonna go in the core library. There is, again, a kit called AG Techno kit. You have this nice clap if you pitch it down. And the thing is you need to put in classic because what we want as well, we want a very short release just to have this burst of sound. And I'm gonna show you a trick with the raw, but first we're gonna add a bit of reverb. And we're gonna put drum bass as well as overall processing, so like this you can really hear the raw trick better. Okay, let's put raw. And we're gonna keep it in single, maybe. Reduce the output. And here the trick is not really this. Here again we're gonna use the filter in peak mode, you know, kind of have a ballet cue. But here the trick, instead of accentuating just one frequency, what we're gonna do is gonna modulate this filter to have a nice tone. So we're gonna go here and we're gonna go to matrix and we're gonna modulate the filter with the envelope. And already we got something pretty good. You just need to add a bit of gain and maybe the release a little bit more down. And now we're gonna have just right before, you need to put your grid in 16, just right before. Velocity at the maximum. And then if I put in the context of the track, you're gonna hear. Pretty cool. Alright, so another stab we can add, which is pretty common around nowadays, is like this kind of FM stab. So we're gonna use mel for that, just to have different flavor. And we can use the simple FM. Oh. Around there, we don't need actually B. Here's something a bit more plucky, maybe. We're gonna use this weird filter. The thing is, the drive is very interesting, and we're gonna modulate this filter with the envelope. Put this in mono. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're gonna automate the drive later, but for now, no. So to add a bit of bite, I'm gonna use my modernizer rack. Kind of get this growling effect. We can EQ a little bit to kind of accentuate. Okay, now let's add a bit of reverb just to put the sound into a bit of space. Maybe a bit of delay. So you wonder maybe why I put the delay after. No especially reason. Sometimes I do that. So no really like any. Alright, then we're gonna add raw to add a bit of bite to that. So I'm not gonna use the same preset now, maybe later, but now we're gonna have a new one, multi-band as well, to kind of create something interesting. We're gonna go from 500 to 5 kilo, around that. And the first one will be soft. But then for the mid, we're gonna go to diode. Now you start to get some nice interesting things. You can even use the peak filter usually, like usual, as a kind of a EQ. And then same with the high, we're gonna use the diode. Get that transient. Okay, maybe we can nice. Okay, now we're gonna use drum bass just to put it maybe a bit more in the face. Okay, now we're gonna use actually the same preset than for the bass. Let me grab this. That's a bit too much. We're gonna dial down the. Okay. Okay, that's got some bite. Maybe the delay is it's a bit too long. And this again with a repeat. Okay, not bad. I reduced a little bit this because it was a bit too distorted to my taste. Yeah. We got something a bit cleaner. And yeah, so for the pattern, maybe something like that. And just press the capture. And Yeah, let me be like again arrange that in a proper way. So I put the green in 16, and then you have something like that. I've done some trial error, but I cut it because it's kind of boring. Wait, this is with the drive up, but with the drive at 0. And this is where I can put the drive, I don't know, maybe like... and because of the... I don't want them to play in the same time, maybe I'm gonna switch like this. Okay, so we need to add more stab. In order to speed up the process, I'm gonna use some of the preset and rack I use on the channel. So the first one is a preset, I will put it in the description. It's from my wavetable Techno bank. It's this one. I'm just gonna modify it a little bit. I'm gonna add a bit of shifter to make it a little bit weird. I have this kind of weird detune with the shifter because it's 50%, and then just an EQ to kind of around here. And the nut, we're gonna use F sharp 0, and then like that maybe. Okay, obviously it's not gonna repeat that often, and I'm gonna make it longer to be like 32 like the other one. You see, they have to don't play all in the same time, so you have to put them in the way that they don't play in the same time. So I'm gonna put it here. Okay, we can see this at the arrangement later how we place them, but it's better to have them like now straight up good, so it's less work later. So again, if you wonder how to do the sound, I put it in the description. There is a preset breakdown where I explain how to do the sound. Now I feel we could add another stab more like for SFX, maybe for transition, or like, which is better to have too many stabs than not enough. And again, I'm gonna use a rack of mine which is called Acid Box, which is usually like, and I was asking for like transition, so I'm gonna bring up the attack maybe longer the GK. Yeah, that's not too bad. Maybe we're gonna need to maybe something like this. Yeah, just gonna use raw maybe on to see how it sounds, but I don't really need, to be fair. But not too bad. Yeah, I'm gonna put back my, and this is gonna be like same. We need like a maybe like right before the half bar, so like this. It's gonna help for the transition later on. Now I think we are at the point we have pretty much all the elements we need. The only thing that I feel is missing, it's for the breakdown maybe, you know, like this kind of Reese bass. So we're gonna use melt. We're gonna keep the basic shape around 70, like you can see the sawtooth. Obviously we want the beginning sound. We're gonna do the legato maybe like around 60 seconds. So like this we're gonna have 60 milliseconds, sorry. So like, yeah, that's pretty much it. One of the annoying things with melt is like you cannot link the filter or send routing to the same. So we're gonna just use, anyway, it's no big deal for the sound, but for the sound it's sometimes annoying. We're gonna use just auto filter, and we're gonna use the 24 dB. Maybe we can use this one. Crank up the resonance. So and obviously a bit of reverb. And this can be great during the break. I can do a classic things like this here. And then again, we can press this here, and we have a pretty much our and yeah, I'm gonna readjust it in the arrangement because I'm not gonna shift it now. But yeah. Okay, now we have this. Finally, we're gonna add our last element. This is something I wanted to add for during the break as well, maybe to add a bit of tension, like kind of a very simple but repetitive sound. Again, to add something, a bit of freshness. Again, I'm gonna use a melt preset. I like this one, Bestock. We can put it like in the key up, make sure it's still in F minor. To be honest, I tweak it a little bit. And I wanted to do something a bit more percussive. Yeah, and I'm gonna use the same delay and reverb than any other synth that I use. Up, up. It's really like, this is really like to build tension. It's not like a, maybe like just something like that, something like not. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we have a Alright, and we are pretty much done. I think we have enough track to go into the arrangement. So next week I will talk more in detail about the arrangement. I will use this track to really like make a nice tutorial about arrangement and give you some idea. Alright, hope you like this video. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you learn a few tricks here and there. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Next week's part 2 where you're gonna be able to grab the template. Thank you very much, guys. Bye bye.